Okay, welcome back to another episode of A New York State of Mind. Hi, I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. Our producer is Nathan Miranda. And we're sitting here doing this podcast while the Yankees are playing the Chicago Cubs at the stadium. Second game of their three-game set. The Yankees won last night 11-0. We'll get into that here in just a minute. Today, they've got Max Fried on the mound, who is their ace, and he just can't seem to find it today. He's pitched 3 innings. He's over 70 pitches already. 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them earned, 2 strikeouts, and 3 walks, which is really, really unusual for Max Fried. Now, he should have been out of the inning before the 3rd and the 4th run scored. The Yankees had a double play ball where Volpe threw the ball to Chisholm. The throw was not great. Chisholm had to kind of lean the wrong way to get it, but then off balance, threw it to Goldschmidt and just airmailed him, and that allowed another run to score, and of course led to extra batters, which got their 4th run across. So it seems like whenever the Yankees, when they're really good, they're really good, and when they're bad, they're really bad. And today, they're just bad. I mean, for the second time in 3 nights, the Yankees are being no-hit. Their last game was Seattle. The Yankees were being no-hit through 7 innings. Okay, today they're being no-hit through 3 innings. And as I've got the TV on here watching the game, Ian Hamilton has just come in the 4th inning for Max Fried. So something's going on there that is a little bit unusual. Let's hope. If you're a Yankee fan, you need to hope and pray that that there's nothing wrong with Max Fried. Okay. Because 73 or 74 pitches, yeah, that's a lot, but he should have been able to throw at least 2 more innings to give the bullpen some rest, but they took him out. And also, he was kind of looking at his hand at the end of the last inning, so we better hope as Yankee fans that there's nothing wrong with him, because if there is, you can forget about the Yankees possibly even making the playoffs, okay? But either way, they're losing today 4-0. Ian Hamilton is now pitching in the 4th inning, and we'll see what happens with that. But I want to go back a little bit to the Seattle series. The Yankees swept the Mariners. They won the first game of the series 10-3. Judge hit a home run in that game. So did Cal Raleigh, the Mariners catcher. The Yankees won the second game 9-6. That was an interesting game. That was the game where Cam Schlittler, the Yankees' top pitching prospect, made his major league debut. He had been pretty much lights out in AAA. They brought him up to the major leagues, and he had a really good outing. I mean, he pitched extremely well. He pitched 5.1 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 of them earned, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. He did give up 2 home runs, but really those 3 earned runs probably should have been 2 earned runs. And the reason I say that is because after he got the first out, after his first start of that inning, he allowed a runner to get on base. Then they let him pitch to Cal Raleigh. So here he is. He's pitched 5 innings. He's in his 6th inning. I don't remember how many pitches he was at, but probably... let's see here. He probably was at 70 pitches, maybe, roughly, okay? They let him pitch to Cal Raleigh, who's the major league leader in home runs, and he struck him out, okay? And then Boone goes out there and pulls him out of the game. So now you got 1 out, runner on second, and he pulls him out of the game, and they bring in Loaizaga. Well, anybody who knows the Yankees and has watched the Yankees, Loaizaga has been like lighter fluid. He's kind of assumed the role of lighter fluid since Mark Leiter Jr. left on the DL. Well, Loaizaga gives up a 2-run home run. So that runner that was on base was charged to Schlittler. Well, I'm thinking either if the guy just struck out Cal Raleigh, let him try to pitch his way out of the inning. You're ahead 9-4 at that time. And then after the home run that Loaizaga gave up, it's 9-6. So, again, it goes back to some crazy scratch-your-head type decisions that Aaron Boone makes from time to time. But nonetheless, the Yankees did win that game. And then, of course, the exciting game was Thursday night when the Yankees came back to win that game 6-5. As I said, the Yankees were being shut out. They were being no-hit in that game through 7 innings. The pitcher for the Mariners that day, or that night, I should say, was Wu. Okay, he's a pretty good pitcher, but he had pretty much retired every Yankee. He walked 2 guys. He walked the first 2 guys of the game, and after that, retired everybody else from the first inning on. Well, then the Yankees in the 8th inning, Chisholm got a hit. The Yankees kind of worked a couple runners on base, and then Giancarlo Stanton with a pinch hit 2-run home run to make it 5-3. So then they go to the bottom of the 9th, and the Yankees are losing 5-3, and the Mariners bring in their closer, Munoz, who's probably one of the best closers in Major League Baseball. They bring him in, and he can't seem to get anybody out. He walks 2 or 3 guys in that inning. In fact, I think he walked. He walked 1 guy and a couple of hits. So the Yankees end up tying the game. Hook or by crook, they end up tying the game. Big hit by Austin Wells to drive in a couple runs to tie the game after the bases were loaded. But then they couldn't get Volpe flies out to center field with a runner on third. Couldn't get him home to win the game. So they go to the 10th inning. And then in the bottom of the 10th, the Yankees have Devin Williams come in the top of the 10th, which is a smart move. I mean, the game is tied. You bring in your closer to keep it tied so that you can go to the bottom of the 10th with a chance to win it. Williams did his job, struck out 1, retired the side, and the Yankees come up in the bottom of the 10th. Well, Volpe goes to second as the courtesy runner. Peraza's the leadoff batter. His job is what? Everybody knows what it is, right? Bunt. Get Volpe to third with 1 out. Now he comes home with a base hit. He comes home with a fly ball. He comes home with a pass ball or a wild pitch. Well, Peraza, what does he do? He bunts it in the air and the third baseman catches it. You know, listen, I know the baseball game has changed, okay? I mean, when I was playing baseball, you played station-to-station baseball. You hit behind the runner. You bunted to get runners over. Part of that was because pitchers were bunting or were batting. But now everything is, let's launch the ball. Let's check the exit velocity. Let's try to get the ball in the air. Well, we've lost some of the fundamentals, and the Yankees ended up there with 1 out, a wasted at bat. Luckily for them, we had a couple walks. We had the bases loaded, and then Aaron Judge come up and got a short fly ball, but Volpe was able to score with his speed and with a great slide behind the attempted tag by Cal Raleigh. And the Yankees come all the way back to win that game 6-5, which I think was excellent. Okay, so then they come into the Cubs series, and last night the Yankees looked like the Yankees of old. Okay, and I'm going to again. I've used this probably 3 or 4 times. Our producer Nathan, with the greatest analogy I've heard. The Yankees are like a prize fighter. If they can knock you out, they can win. But if they have to go the distance and win on points, they're not going to win. Sure enough, Cody Bellinger, with his first 3-homer game, hit 3 home runs, and he had 1 stolen from him. He hit after his first 2 home runs, he hit one that was about 6 feet over the wall. Not 6 feet, about a foot over the wall. But the right fielder made a tremendous play and caught the ball and rob him of that home run, and then he hit another one. So on the strength of Cody Bellinger's 3 home runs, and Goldschmidt had 3 hits in that game, the Yankees win 11-0. The beauty of that game was that Carlos Rodon pitched a gem. He pitched 8 full innings, only gave up 4 hits, struck out 8, and walked 1. His ERA down to 3.08. And by the way, he's the league leader in strikeouts this year. So, and of course, Aaron Judge made a great catch in right field to get him through that 8th inning and save a run. But nonetheless, 8 innings, and then of course they brought in Efros, who is basically a mop-up type guy in 11-0. So the bullpen got a lot of rest. Great pitching, some power hitting by the Yankees, some really good at-bats by Ben Rice, and the Yankees win 11-0. Well, then you go the very next day, today, the game we're watching, and they're losing 4-0. They don't have a hit yet, which to me just boggles my mind. How do you go 2 of the last 3 nights, You go one night without getting a hit till the 8th inning, and then Bellinger hits 3 home runs, and the Yankees get, let's see, what did they get that night? Last night, the Yankees win 11-0, and they had 15 hits. Well, today, the Cubs pitcher today is really no better, in my opinion, than the Cubs pitcher was last night, and the Yankees can't seem to hit him. So the Yankees are a hot and cold baseball team. And then here's the thing that really, if you're a Yankee fan, you really have to look at, okay, is Max Fried and Carlos Rodon are your 2 horses. As they go, that's how the Yankees are going to go this year, right? I mean, yeah, they brought up Cam Schlittler. He had a great outing, but there's no guarantee that he's going to have another one. There's no guarantee what the rest of the season is going to be, right? He's a rookie, his first start, so we don't know yet. So we'll see. So basically, it's Fried and Rodon. Rodon pitched a great game last night. Fried has been pretty much lights out. He's got 11 wins on the season. But today, he didn't pitch very well. And let's hope and pray that he's not hurt. Because if he's hurt, it's over, okay? It is over, period. So you have a Yankee team that if Fried's not pitching well or Rodon's not pitching well and the Yankees aren't clubbing home runs, you're not going to win, okay? And even on the days when they're clubbing home runs, if their pitcher's not pitching well, it's a crapshoot. So it's a very fragile formula right now, all right? You look at. I think since our last podcast, the Yankees designated for assignment DJ LeMahieu. And I don't have a problem with that move, okay? I think they owed him $22 million left on his contract, but he really couldn't play third. He didn't have the mobility anymore with his back and his age. He's 38 years old. So they had him at second. Well, that meant that Chisholm had to play third, and that's not his position. So they moved Chisholm back to second. They moved Peraza to third, and of course they DFA'd LeMahieu. Well, now you got Peraza at third. Great defender. Don't get me wrong. He made some great plays over the last few days, but he can't hit. He's hitting like 160. So you're going to have to make a move. I think you're going to have to get a right-handed hitting third baseman, a good third baseman that can hit. All right, and hopefully that will give them some power back in their lineup from the right side of the plate. You got to get some relievers, okay? You've got relievers galore on the disabled list. You got Mark Leiter Jr. on the disabled list. You got I forget his last name. Nathan will find it. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. They've got a lot of guys on the disabled list right now from the bullpen. Ryan Yarbrough, one of their spot starters, is on the disabled list. Cruz, that's who I was looking for. Cruz, their relievers on the disabled list. Weaver has not been the same Weaver since he's come back from his little stint on the disabled list. Now, Devin Williams is pitching better, but outside of those guys, you don't have anybody. And if Rodon is if Fried is actually hurt, you're going to have to get another starter. They know they need another starter now. If Fried is hurt for any length of time, you're going to have to get a starter. That's going to have to be your number one priority. Now, you may say as a Yankee fan, no problem, we'll just go get these guys. Well, here's the problem. You're going to be at the trade deadline here shortly. That's when the Yankees will make these moves. Everybody in the league knows the Yankees need these guys, right? So do you think they're just going to give them away? I mean, they're going to negotiate, right? They're going to want more out of the Yankees than, say, they would have wanted in the offseason, right? So the Yankees are going to have to give up prospects. I hope they give up some of these guys they got in their current roster. I think they need to trade Grisham. I'd throw in Peraza as part of the deal. Nobody's going to want him, but I'd throw it in there. That's probably what you're going to, maybe a Ben Rice, and I hate to see him leave, but teams are going to want a lot more because they know the Yankees are somewhat desperate, okay? So we'll see what happens with Fried. We'll see what happens with what the Yankees have to do at the end of the season. But I want to look at the Yankees' statistics right now, and this is obviously before today's game. If you look at their batting averages, okay, Austin Wells, who's pretty much their starting catcher, hitting .227, 14 homers, 53 RBIs. Goldschmidt hitting .294. LeMahieu, of course, he's gone. Volpe's hitting .215, okay? And I'm going to come back to Volpe in a minute. Cabrera is injured. Dominguez is hitting 269, 8 homers, 34 RBIs, and he's come on as of late. He's had multi-hit games a couple times the last few weeks. And guess what? They put him in the leadoff spot, which is something I advocated a few podcasts ago. And now they bounce him around. Today they got Grisham in the leadoff spot. They got Dominguez on the bench. I mean, you just can't do that. And that's another thing I'll talk about here in a minute. Grisham's hitting 255. Judge is hitting 354. Obviously, you don't have Judge, and who knows where this Yankee team would be. I mean, Judge has got 34 homers, 79 RBIs, 69 walks. He's got 122 hits, which is far and away more than any of the other Yankees have. And then Ben Rice is hitting 236. He's cooled off a little bit, 14 homers, 31 RBIs. Bellinger's hitting 285. He's out a 16-game hitting streak, which looks like it's probably going to end today. 16 homers, 54 RBIs. Chisholm 252, 17 homers, 43 RBIs. That's another thing I'm going to get into here in a minute. And then Peraza's hitting 160, Escara 215, Stanton 254, who just struck out again. Vivas 149, of course, he's just a fill-in player, and Pablo Reyes they've already gotten rid of. So let's go back to Volpe. Volpe's hitting 215. His on-base percentage is 289. His slugging 388. His OPS 677, which is not very good. He's got 10 homers and 49 RBIs. Now, I heard Michael Kay on one of his radio shows a couple days ago talking, and I'm going to give you 2 points. One of them, I agree with him. One of them, I totally disagree with him. One of them, he said, a lot of Yankee fans, I guess they called in his show, are clamoring, say the Yankees should blow it up, start over. Well, you can't do that. You can't clean house and try to start over. Okay, that's ridiculous. And I agree with what he said there. But then he got into Volpe, okay, talking about how Volpe is a good player, how he's going to be their shortstop for years to come. And he made the expression, he goes, okay, Volpe's got 10 homers, 49 RBIs. He goes, let's extrapolate that. He goes, if at the end of the season he's got 20 homers and 90 RBIs, and he's hitting 250, he goes, that's your shortstop. That's not bad for a shortstop. Well, no, it's not bad, but he's not going to get there, okay? How can you say after 96 games, which is what we'll have after tomorrow, with only 66 games left, he's going to hit another 10 home runs, and he's going to drive in another 41 runs, and he's going to raise his batting average 35 points? It's not going to happen, okay? Now, I'm all for Volpe staying as the shortstop. I mean, I talked about this in my previous short, is sometimes we hold the current Yankees to a higher standard than they should be held to. And we can't hold Volpe to the standard of Derek Jeter. We just can't do it, okay? But right now, I mean, unless something drastically changes, I don't see him hitting more than, he might hit 13 or 14 home runs. He may drive in, he may drive in 60 or 65 runs, but he's not going to hit 250. So it's not there. They've got to work with him to get him back to where he was. Okay, they've got to. Then you look at Dominguez. As I said, he was the leadoff batter, which I think he should be all the time. The Yankees, nobody knows where they're going to hit or play from game to game. Your lineup changes so much. The only consistent part of the lineup is Judge. Usually he's been batting second. They've batted him third sometimes, but mostly second. Outside of that, you never know where anybody's going to bat. Volpe can bat fifth or sixth, or he can bat eighth or ninth. Dominguez can bat first or sixth, like he did last night. Or he cannot play, like today. Grisham can bat first, or he can bat seventh. I mean, you find me a major league team that changes their lineup structure that much this deep into the season. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in high school, for goodness sake. My oldest son played high school baseball. Their lineup was pretty much the same every week, every game except for injury or whatever. So that's where guys get consistent. If you're hitting first every week or every game, you know what to do, what to look for. But you just don't know if you're going to hit first and then sixth, and then you're not going to play. So the Yankees have too many guys they're trying to get in the mix. And it'd be one thing if these guys where you were trying to get in the mix were all hitting over 300, but they're not. I mean, you got Grisham, who's hitting 255. You got Dominguez, who's hitting 269. Volpe, 215. Peraza's hitting 160. Put Peraza at shortstop. Give Volpe a couple days off to work on it. And you think the hitting coach would work with these guys, okay? Like you watch Peraza, all right? Peraza, hitting a baseball is a lot like golf, okay? Because when you golf, you have to stay behind the ball, all right? As you take that backswing in golf and you start to come forward, if you sway forward, if your head gets forward in front of the ball, you're going to hit behind the ball. You're not going to make good contact, okay? Same in baseball. You got to load back on the right foot, which is the same as golf. You're loading back on your right foot, but then you got to plant and you got to shift your weight, but you got to stay back on that right foot. And Peraza doesn't do that. He sways, and that's why he either hits weak pop-ups or weak ground balls. Volpe does a lot of that as well. So here we are, 96 games in the season, and these guys, it's not being corrected, okay? So when is that going to happen? So let's go back to the hitting coach. Whoever he is, all right, and I probably should know who he is, but it doesn't matter, okay? That should be corrected, okay? So there's so many underlying problems with the Yankees that you don't see, okay? That if you just look at the games, all right, they're in second place. They're 2 games behind the Blue Jays. So you don't see those type of things, okay? And then you take Chisholm. Chisholm's going to play is going to be in the home run derby Monday night. Well, that's nice. I mean, he's hit 17 home runs, okay? Well, he tries to hit a home run every night. His swing is so loopy that if that swing hits or makes contact in the zone at exactly the right time, yeah, he's going to hit a home run. But most of the time, he doesn't do that. Now, he's been hitting pretty well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against him. I'm just saying I hate to see him in the home run derby. I just hope that doesn't mess him up even more, okay? Because what you should be trying to do is make contact, not hit home runs. And I think that's somewhat of a problem with Chisholm, okay? So I just saw on the TV while I'm watching the game and doing this podcast that Fried left the game with a blister on his throwing hand, one of his fingers. So it doesn't sound like it's very much of a problem, but you watch, I guarantee you he'll miss his next start because today they coddle baseball players, all right? And that's a whole nother podcast topic, but I just think that baseball players are just coddled way too much today, okay? Now pitchers, maybe that's a different story, okay? If he's got a blister, I understand all that, but I guarantee you he'll miss the next start. You just watch. So let's take a look at the Yankees schedule real quick, okay? So the Yankees right now are 53-41. It looks to me like they're going to lose the game today. They're losing 4-0. It's middle of the game, about 5th inning. Unless they have a tremendous comeback, and the Cubs are pretty good, by the way. It's 4-0, and we're in the bottom of the 5th. So I don't think the Yankees are going to win this game. So let's say they lose it. They're 53-42. They got one more game with the Cubs, okay? And then we got the All-Star break. Then after the All-Star break, they go to Atlanta, or they stay in Atlanta, the guys that are there. And there's Chisholm again wailing at a pitch. And they play 3 in Atlanta. Atlanta's not playing very well, but they're a dangerous team at home, okay? Then they go to Toronto for 3. I said this on a couple podcasts ago, before the Yankees went to Toronto for that 4-game series. I said that was going to be a very important series, okay? Because the Yankees were ahead of Toronto, I think 3.5 games or 4 games, I don't remember exactly, and they were swept in 4 games, and the Blue Jays ended up in first place. So this next 3-game series after Atlanta, if they lose all 3 of those, you can forget the Yankees winning the division, okay? And I don't think Toronto's going to stay as hot as they are now, but if the Yankees lose all 3, let's say they go into the All-Star break 2 games behind. If they come out of the Toronto series 5 games behind, and it could be more based on what they do in Atlanta, it's going to be awful hard for the Yankees to make that up. Then they come home after Toronto, and they play a 3-game series with the Phillies. The Phillies are leading the National League East. Then they play the Rays for 4 games. The Rays are a contender in the American League East. So, I don't know. I hate to keep being somewhat negative, but I just don't see this Yankee team having what it takes to get to the World Series. And I've said that before. I don't even see them yet getting to the American League Championship Series, especially if they have to be a wild card. And especially if their pitching falls apart, because you just never know what Yankee offense is going to show up from one day to the next, okay? Grisham just hit into a double play, all right? So, you know, these things happen too much for the Yankees. And, you know, there's an old saying in baseball, good pitching stops good hitting. And when you get into the playoffs, especially against good baseball teams, if they have a couple of really good starters, you know, you lose those 2 games and you're behind the 8 ball, especially in the best 3 out of 5 and also in the best 4 out of 7. So I don't know. I guess I just really don't see it for the Yankees. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as they come out of the All-Star break and start that next stretch of their schedule, as they say. Let me touch on something that's just totally a little different. But I've talked before about, you know, I'm an old guy. I'm an old school guy. I've talked about the way you play the baseball game, right? Hitting the other way, hitting behind the runner, bunting guys over into scoring position. The little things, okay? Trying to hit the ball to the alleys. I've talked about all that stuff. I've talked about home run celebrations. I mean, you know, the Yankees, for all their faults, I should say, they don't celebrate home runs on the base path, and they don't celebrate them when they come through home plate. In the dugout, they celebrate with their teammates, which is fine, okay? But one thing that really chaps me, okay, are these teams that have these home run celebrations. The Blue Jays, guy hits a home run, he comes to the dugout. One of his teammates comes out with a jacket and has to put it on him with all these emblems on the back, Toronto, Canada, whatever it is. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous, okay? The Mariners, guy hits a home run, he comes to the dugout. One of his teammates has a trident, okay, a gold trident. And our producer, Nathan, had a good question. He goes, how did they get that trident to New York? I mean, did they bring it on the plane? Does it get through security? I mean, this thing could be called a weapon, right, if you were a TSA guy. But they give him a trident, and he marches around with the trident. I mean, this is Little League stuff. They don't even do this in Little League, okay? When I managed a Little League team years ago when my boys were small, I used to get on the kids if they celebrated too much. We had one kid one time that we beat, I think, one of the better teams in the league, the Dodgers. We were the Cardinals. And we had this like little, actually it was a golf club cover in the shape of a cardinal, okay? And I had bought it to bring it in the dugout, okay, just for team camaraderie. Well, after we beat this team, one of our players puts it on the end of a bat and starts running around the bases. Well, I called him in here and I said, no, don't do that kind of stuff. That's showing the other team up. We don't do that. Okay, but still, that's little. The guy was 12 years old, for goodness sake. You'd expect that. But you don't expect it from Major League Baseball players, okay? All this ridiculous, even these guys that get on base, they get a double, and they're like, you know, doing this stuff right here and doing this stuff right here and pointing I mean, that's ridiculous, okay? Just hit the ball, get on second, call time, go take your things off, give them the first base coach, come back. I mean, be a professional, okay? Be a professional. And part of that is because these guys are spoiled. I mean, they make millions and millions of dollars. They don't have to play every day anymore. They don't have to play double headers. They're spoiled. And your managers, I mean, you don't have any more Jim Lelands or Sparky Andersons or Joe Torres. Now you got guys like Aaron Boone and Craig Counsell and you name it. These guys are all puppets, okay? Puppets for the general manager. And they're not going to tell these guys not to do that kind of stuff because they don't have any respect in the dugout to start with, okay? So that's just a little pet peeve. Hope you enjoyed this episode of A New York State of Mind. We'll definitely be back here after the Cubs game tomorrow. We'll do a mid-year All-Star break review and talk a little bit about where everybody is in every division and what I think is going to happen for the balance of the season. So for our producer, Nathan, I'm Ralph. Hope you enjoyed it on this edition of A New York State of Mind. Thanks a lot.